So I gotta make this one short because it's raining out here, but I wanted to come out here and do this for y'all. So long story short, I made it to the ER and they ran their tests. They're like, okay, you're dehydrated. So they hooked me up to the IV and then they rolled me in to do an x-ray because it's 4th of July. So if you hear the fireworks, I'm sorry. Clearly they outside today. So yeah, roll me in, get my IV done. I'm at the ER, cool, no problem. They do my x-ray, just a regular x-ray. And they're telling me like, oh, hey, all we see right now is like there may be waste. So literally the doctor was like, yeah, nothing's wrong with you. You're just full of shit. And I'm like, whoa, what? And so he's like, yeah, we're going to prescribe you a prescription. We're going to give you Docalax, the doctoral version, which is basically a laxative. So they give me the laxative. I get it filled. I'm sitting there for like 2-3 hours. Nothing's happening after I take the medicine. And so he's like, go home, see what happens. If you go to the bathroom, that's great. That's what we want. Okay, so then long story short, on top of that, I go home, maybe like 2-3 days later, I go to the bathroom, cool. And y'all excuse my hair, like it's literally getting bigger by the minute. So it is what it is. But okay, so 2-3 days later, I'm chilling at home. I go to the bathroom eventually, cool. I realize my stomach's not going down, but I don't feel the pain anymore. So mind you, this had to be like maybe in July-ish. Of 2022. So I go ahead and basically, keep going on my daily life. I'm still eating, I'm trying to eat a little bit more healthy. I'm incorporating more fruits and vegetables in my diet. I'm still eating chicken because that's what I like to eat. But I do realize like my stomach is growing, and I realize it's growing because like I'm growing out of my clothes. It was summer, so I was getting like fast fashion from Fashion Nova and Shein. And, I'm getting like mediums, and I'm realizing I'm having to buy extra larges, and stuff I haven't even worn yet, I'm growing out of. So it's a red flag. So then after that, fast forward, we're like, I don't know, we are probably, 4 or 5 months in. I decided I'm going to move to Atlanta from Florida. Like, I'm just not having a good time in Florida. It's not what I thought, the move was going to be. So I moved quick to Florida. I moved quick to Atlanta, and once I get settled in Atlanta, I realized like my stomach is now getting bigger. So mind you, it was like, at first it was just a little pudge, but now it's literally like protruding. I'm seeing family members, they're like, dang, you're gaining weight, and then black families, they quick to tell you like you're getting big, but I'm not getting big in my body, I'm just getting big in my stomach. So I noticed that part, but because I'm like upsizing stuff, is really not that much of a difference. Like I'm wearing large and extra large, so I'm like kind of concealing my stomach because I'm embarrassed. Like I'm pretty much a skinny girl for the most part. So like to see yourself gaining weight in certain areas, like I said, to see yourself gaining weight in certain areas is alarming. So you're like, wait, what's going on? So I finally make it to Georgia. I get settled in, and I get my new job, I get my new benefits, and I'm like, first things first, I need to see what's up with my stomach. I go to my general practitioner, who's an African American woman, and I'm telling her like, hey, my stomach's big, I'm gaining weight. She put me on the scale. I'm like maybe like 155. I have never been over 125. So 155, I gained a good 20 pounds, give or take. And like I said, it was summer, so I wasn't really worried about it, but I started getting alarmed because that's a lot of weight. And then for me to be weight conscious and health conscious, mind you, I do beauty pageant, so I'm aware of like when my body changes. So I was kind of shook, worried, all of that. So the doctor does a blood test. She does like runs all the tests, all the blood workup. She doesn't find anything. She's like, I don't know what's going on. But we'll let you do a CAT scan or MRI. I'll let you know which one I did first. So I think I did the CT scan first. It was IV and one without the IV. The IV, they basically give you a needle, shoot some like silver stuff in you so, your body can be illuminated and they can see what the issue is. They did that. That was pretty quick. It was like 2 weeks, a 2-week out schedule. And, they did that. And I just waited for my results. But this was the thing. So I went to an MRI imaging place. They gave me a disc, like a CD disc, but nobody could read the disc. So it was starting to get really frustrating because I'm like walking around with this disc that nobody can read. And they're like, oh, your doctor has the reader. And my doctor's like, I don't have a reader. I don't know what this says. But before I left, the nurse who did my x-rays had told me, like, oh, so the nurse who did my x-rays told me we see something, but whatever the something was, he didn't really tell me what it was. So he was just like, yeah, you know, you probably been having problems with this. We see something. So, like, I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know. And I had already started doing my research at that time. So I was like, it could be fibroids. It could be, you know, like, something else. But, you know, Google will take you down a rabbit hole and tell you, like, you got 3 days to live and you're going to die in this amount of time. So I was trying, like, to be level-headed, but I was still worried because I'm like, I'm still gaining weight every time I go to the doctor, which at this point I went to my general practitioner like 3 different times, and my weight is increasing, and I'm starting, like, my skin and stuff is starting to get tight because I'm swelling, but there's really no rhyme or reason for why I'm swelling that I know of. So finally go get the little get the MRI or the CT scan. And I make it back to my doctor, and she's like, oh, you may have fibroids. Only because I brought it up to her. Like, I researched this, and I think it's fibroids, only because that's what Google told me, but I'm not for sure. So she finally gets me to somewhere and says, yeah, we see a fibroid, but I can't really tell you anything. I'm going to refer you to a gynecologist. Now, mind you, I hadn't had a gynecologist in a while because I really hadn't needed one. But when she told me she was going to refer me to a gynecologist, I went and found one. And I'm like, listen, I don't care who it is. Just get me in the office. Let me see what's wrong. Because whenever somebody says, like, we're going to refer you to a gynecologist, obviously something's wrong with my reproductive system. So I wanted to go ahead and, you know, get that checked out. I make it to the gynecologist. I tell her what's going on, the symptoms. Immediately next day, she sends me for the MRI. So I think I had the CT scan first, then I had the MRI. So once the MRI comes back, she sent me to a specialist, and, like, I'm paying this stuff out of pocket because my insurance is moving mad slow. And so she sends me to the MRI specialist, and I'm paying this stuff out of pocket because my insurance is moving mad slow. So I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think, at the time, and they just have to review everything before they can release the funds. So smart choice, I have a credit card for medical bills. So I'm putting all my co-pays and stuff on my credit card. I'm like, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how much money it is. Like, charge me up. Just let me know what's going on. So we finally get the MRI back, and she's like, yeah, you definitely have fibroids, but these are your options. And so she lays out a list of options. She tells me I have the option of a myomectomy, a hysterectomy, or they can do fibroid, like, immobilization, which means they basically isolate the fibroid, cut off the blood supply, and, like, hopefully it shrinks, but it can come back. Y'all, wait for what to shrink and come back. No. Hysterectomy me, please.